I'm going to start section 11.4 with a couple simple questions. What part of a neuron carries an excitatory signal toward the neuron cell body? Dendrite is correct. What type of neuron composes most of the sensory neurons found only in the peripheral nervous system? Unipolar. Section 11.4 covers cells called neuroglia. Neuroglia are support cells. Axons are very, very long and they need support to maintain themselves. Neuroglia are quite abundant. They're also called glial cells. They make up half the volume of the nervous system. And there are 4 types of central nervous system glial cells. We will find different cells in the PNS. In the CNS, we have ependymal cells, microglia, astrocytes, and oligodendrocytes. Ependymal cells are cells that produce cerebral spinal fluid. These cells line the central canal of the spinal cord. So here we have a figure of the central of the spinal cord, and you'll notice it looks like a gray or a darker butterfly surrounded by white. This darker butterfly is called gray matter, and the whiter material is white matter. We'll see the same separation of gray matter and white matter in the brain, but the ependymal cells line that central spinal cord, the central canal, and they also line what are called the ventricles in the brain. So this brain here has these odd-shaped blue horns inside of it, and these are the ventricles of the brain. There are 4 ventricles, and they produce cerebral spinal fluid. The cerebral spinal fluid will flow from these ventricles down the spinal cord through the central canal. So the ependymal cells assist in producing, circulating, and monitoring the CSF. Microglia are very small cells that remove pathogens and debris and cellular waste products from the CNS. Astrocytes. So let's look at an astrocyte here. You can see that this astrocyte is somehow connecting the capillary to the axon. Well, the astrocyte is the go-between for nutrients and wastes, so it's going to regulate the nutrient concentrations, it's going to provide structural support, it forms scar tissue, and also it maintains the blood-brain barrier. This barrier prevents the brain from receiving chemicals in the blood, drugs, pathogens. All those are prevented from going to the brain by the astrocytes. And finally, the oligodendrocytes. These cells here, these rounder cells, you can see this one cell has attached to 2 axons, and this one cell here has attached to this axon and probably another axon. These oligodendrocytes wrap around the axon, forming what is called the myelin sheath. The myelin sheath stabilizes the axon, but also allows the action potential or nerve impulse to travel much, much faster. So axons with the myelin sheath are called myelinated, and they will look white. The central nervous system white matter is myelinated. Myelin-wrapped areas are called internodes, so this would be an internode, and this is produced by this cell, the oligodendrocyte, and so in between would be a non-wrapped section called the node. It's also called node of Ranvier. Axons without the myelin sheath are unmyelinated, and this makes up the gray matter of the central nervous system. Gray matter is mostly cell bodies and dendrites, as well as unmyelinated axons. Name the neuroglia of the CNS. Astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, ependymal cells, and astrocytes, ependymal cells, oligodendrocytes, and microglia. Which neuroglia appear to increase in numbers in a person with a brain infection? That would be microglia. They act as phagocytes and kind of like a white blood cell running around preventing infection. Which glial cells protect the CNS from chemicals and hormones circulating in the blood? That would be astrocytes. Contrast the white matter and gray matter in the CNS. White matter is myelinated, and gray matter is unmyelinated axons and cell bodies.